What's up, everybody? Welcome to State of Tech. My name's Jared, and today I have the HTC U Ultra in brilliant black for review. Now, gosh, I've just been an HTC fan for a long time, but the problem is that most of the devices that they've put out over the last several years have just been kind of subpar. I mean, they've been trying to capture that beauty, that creativity that they had in their earlier Android devices that were just fantastic. It's what won me over. And now they are trying to get back to there, but I think that they're still missing the mark. Now, I originally wanted to do an unboxing of this and just kind of give my initial thoughts, but I'm really glad that I spent time with this phone first. So, of course, there's the box. Most of the HTC phones for the last several years have came in this style of box, and it does come with some accessories. I'm not going to go too into detail with those because other people have, and it's really not that exciting. However, what is exciting is that it does come with a set of headphones, and those headphones are pretty good. People have talked about that as well. So the phone also comes with a clear case, which, you know, it's cool that they included a case, but the fact that it's a clear case, I mean, all clear cases are kind of garbage. They scratch up like crazy. Like I've had this on for less than a week, and it is scratched up, and there are just little marks. And they're not big scratches because I've been dragging it across the table or doing anything like that. This is just normal setting your phone down and picking your phone up. You know, a little bit of scraping just when you pick your phone up. But these cases are just so prone to scratches. Now, I know that they gave us a clear case because they wanted us to see just how good looking the phone is. And it is a pretty good looking phone. You know, it comes in a variety of different colors, you know, just a few, but they're pretty brilliant. I've been a fan of just darker phones. Of course, that doesn't make too much sense with my recent iPhone product Red purchase, but nonetheless, this phone just looks really good, and it feels good to hold. You know, HTC has been trying to find a new niche lately. You know, they've just had really bad luck. Their phones have been kind of plain, kind of boring, while other phone manufacturers are trying different things. And, you know, like LG G5 had removable parts and all of that, and now they're getting away from that and kind of going back. But one of the things that happens, or that has happened in Android phones, is that the majority of these phones all kind of look the same. And not much is different with this particular phone. Sure, it has a really beautiful, shiny back plate. The build quality is great. It feels good to hold in your hand, even without a case on it. And a lot of phones these days have gotten so small or so curved, or, you know, just random features to their build that they are just hard to hold. This phone is a joy to hold in your hand, and it is a larger phone. So a lot of people have reported that, you know, this phone just lacks a lot considering how large it is. It has a smaller battery than phones that are smaller than it. It's missing a headphone jack, yet it's still a larger phone than most others. You know, that's fine. I mean, I understand that. Technology is getting smaller these days, so people can say that the device has a lot of wasted space inside. That's fine. I don't think that HTC set out to build a device and waste a lot of internal space. I think what they did was set out to build a nice looking device that felt good, that was a good size for a phone. And, you know, just with modern technology, it doesn't take up as much internal space. Yes, they could have put a headphone jack on this phone. They had plenty of space for that. But, you know, kind of going in the movement of Apple with the iPhone and removing the headphone jack, it's something to get people talking, and we're getting used to it. Everybody who's went out and bought iPhone 7s has gotten used to it. You've either gotten used to using the little dongle adapter, or you've got yourself a set of Bluetooth headphones that you really like. So that's just getting used to it. Then there's, the fact that the battery is a bit small. Yes, they probably could have put a bigger battery in there considering they opted out of other features. But you know what? I have been able to go over a full day's use with this phone, even a day and a half use, heavy use with this phone, and not have a problem. When I make a phone my kind of daily driver, the phone that's my main phone that I use throughout the day, I use it a lot, and especially when it's a new phone. I took a lot of pictures with this, both front and facing and rear facing camera, because I wanted to test out the cameras. And so I spent a lot of screen on time and a lot of time using different features, and I was still able to get a day plus use out of this phone. And then if I even set the percentage of battery life in which it goes into battery saver mode, it even got me further. I was able to get into my second day of a charge on this phone using it the way that I typically would use a phone. So, you know what? Maybe they could have put a bigger battery in there, but who knows? There might have been reasons why they didn't, and I'm not too upset for that. Now, I was originally kind of concerned with the gimmicky second screen. People are saying, oh, it's a direct copy of what LG has done with the V10, the V20, the whole second screen thing. There's, phones coming out with screens on the back. I mean, there's just all sorts of weird things happening. What I do like, though, is that second screen up there. Having the notifications pop up there when I have when I'm uploading an image to Facebook or something like that, having it let me know that the update has been complete, the upload has been complete, when typically those are push notifications I would have to scroll down to see. I kind of like that, and I like being able to swipe between these notifications, these kind of predetermined panels. I have the weather, I have the ability to put some apps up there that are quick launch, which I love because I don't like having my home screen littered with apps. And going into the app drawer sometimes is time consuming when there are apps that you just want readily available. So I don't have to put as much stuff on my home screen, and I have those quick launch. I also have the quick launch icons that gets me to some of my favorite contacts, which is great. And then, of course, calendars and quick reminders. And you can customize these as well, which is great. So for me, I do like it. Maybe I kind of wish that it went full length across the entire width of the phone like the LG phone does, but it's not a deal breaker. I do love the fact that HTC decided to cram a huge camera in the front of this phone. That huge camera takes fantastic photos, whereas if I was using my iPhone using the front-facing camera or using my Google Pixel XL or any other phone that I've had in recent years, that image just isn't as clear. It doesn't have as much dynamic range. It's not as good in low light as this camera is, and that is fantastic. People need a good selfie camera, almost, I would say, more importantly than the camera on the back as far as, some of the performances, because a lot of people are using that camera. I don't want to go and say that the camera on the back is not important, but for people like me who have a better camera, a DSLR or a point and shoot type camera, I might opt for the selfie camera to be better on my phone if I had to choose between the two, because I have another camera I can use. Now, switching gears and talking about that camera on the back, the camera is fantastic. HTC has kind of pioneered trying to produce a good camera, and they've had some successes and some failures over the years. They kind of came out with their own terminology, which Apple does, and maybe this is just HTC continually borrowing terms and continually borrowing from the playbook of some of the bigger players out there like Apple or Samsung, but their camera on the back does perform really well. It produces beautiful images, both in natural light and in lower light situations. I was just super impressed with the images that I was able to capture out of this phone. Now, it is a bummer that you do have to use this little dongle. It's a USB-C. And of course, you have your headphone jack here. And when you're using this, you are unable to plug in and charge. So you do need some sort of an adapter if you want to be able to charge and use audio at the same time. So basically what you would need is a dual USB-C breakout cable. And I found one of those, and I've linked to it in the description below in case you are in need of one. But you know what? The audio sounds really good when you use this adapter. You know, sometimes over Bluetooth, the audio just isn't as good. Of course, newer Bluetooth technologies are getting better. In the vehicle that I currently have, the Bluetooth technology is not the newest, and so the audio quality just isn't that great. And I choose the dongle over Bluetooth simply because, you know, the technology just isn't there in the vehicle that I use. So you may think to use the little dongle, which is an extra purchase. You do have to buy this. It does not come with the phone, which I think is a omission on HTC's part. They should have included one of these. And in my box, there was not one included. All there was a set of headphones and a charger for the phone. So that's kind of a bummer. So overall, I think my least favorite part of this phone is HTC Sense. Now, HTC has gotten less pushy with their software, with their modifications to Android. Most manufacturers have. HTC Sense used to have, you know, a lot of really kind of cool features that you just couldn't get. And over the years, Android has gotten better with some of those features. And then some of the features that HTC put into their phone became less important. So HTC hasn't gotten too carried away with putting stuff into the phone. What I just don't really like is I don't like their keyboard. Their keyboard's kind of a pain to use. It's fine. It's just a really busy keyboard. And for me, it's kind of distracting. And characters and everything are in different places, and so it just is a new keyboard for me to learn. And that's the problem with a lot of these manufacturers, is they set up their keyboard the way that they think it would be best, but it's different than the keyboard from the previous phone that you had. So you have a new keyboard to get used to. So the first thing I always end up doing is changing the keyboard back to Google Keyboard, the Gboard, so at least I have a consistent keyboard experience across all of my phones, and I'm not always hunting for characters that I need when I'm typing. Other things that I really kind of loathe about HTC Sense, of course, is just their overall theme. And, you know, of course, you can re-theme the phone, you can restyle it and all of that stuff. It comes with a theme store, I guess you could say, to where you can re-theme and customize the phone. But I just ended up going with a different launcher altogether because I just didn't quite like the entire HTC experience. I want something a little simpler, a little less convoluted, and I wanted a different app drawer experience. I felt like the app drawer that HTC has with their default launcher, you have to scroll forever to get through your apps, and it's just not a very simple. It feels kind of like a clunky experience, and I just didn't like it, so I switched my launcher almost a couple of days after using the phone. Other things that are a little challenging are the placement of the home and multitask buttons down at the bottom. They are so low to the bottom of the phone, it makes them really hard to use. On a big phone like this, you typically have to hold the phone and kind of brace it with your pinky finger or brace it somehow when you're going to reach. And when you go to reach, it's just the buttons are so low on the screen that it makes them hard to tap, and that kind of makes it a challenge. It makes this a two-handed phone more than a one-handed phone. And for me, I need a phone that I can use both ways, and the majority of the time I'm using a phone single-handed. Phones are just, I don't necessarily think they're supposed to be two-handed devices. They shouldn't be. You can get a tablet for that, or you can get a bigger device for that. You know, and this is a bigger phone, but for me, I want to be able to use it single-handed. I know for people with smaller hands, you're probably going to have to use two hands with this phone all the time, regardless of what you're doing. Now, the last thing I want to comment on is audio quality out of this device. HTC has kind of been known for the audio quality that their device puts out, and, you know, this device just doesn't put out quite the audio that it should. You know, I would understand if maybe this phone was water resistant, but it's not. So it doesn't need to go through that. You know, it's hard to push audio through speaker grills that are set up not to let water pass through them. But HTC didn't make this phone water resistant, so it shouldn't have the issues that it has with audio. And I've been used to big, loud, booming audio out of an HTC phone. And though this phone has decent audio, it's just not as good as HTC phones have been in the past, or what I would expect from a phone of this size, which definitely has plenty of room for loud speakers. So that's going to do it for my review of this device. You know, I have a couple of other videos that I'm going to put out. You know, maybe you're considering, do I go with a device like this versus some of the other popular Android phones coming out? Do I go with this phone maybe over an iPhone? You're thinking, do I stay with iPhone or do I switch to Android or vice versa? I want to talk about that as well. And then I also have an LG G6, which I think is probably one of the only phones that you can compare to this phone right now, considering it's so early in the year and Samsung hasn't released their phones yet for us to play with. So definitely check back with us here on State of Tech. Subscribe to our channel so that you can get notifications when our new videos come out, and give us a thumbs up if you like this one. Thanks so much.